David Bowie was, is, and always will be a genius.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
David Bowie proved it was possible to be the supreme, uncompromising, original artist.
Is there life on Mars?
As a solo artist, I can't think of anyone who ranks above David Bowie.
Just for one day.
For 6 decades, David Bowie amazed, shocked and delighted his fans. He was one of Britain's most pioneering artists, constantly evolving, often challenging and always striving to do things differently. He wrote songs about being an outsider, everything from a spaceman
For here am I sitting in a tin can.
to an alien,
Is there life on Mars?
to a sexually ambiguous misfit. He redefined numerous musical genres.
Never gonna fall for hard enough. What's beside me? Hard enough. What's on by? Hard enough. Gets me to the church on time.
And he succeeded where many musicians have tried and failed, in film and in art.
I think you know too much about me.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues.
And through it all, the one thing that never changed was that unmistakable voice.
Playing on the radio.
The sound that said straight away, this is Bowie. However he may look on the outside, he's the same on the inside. 2 days after his 69th birthday came his final surprise. He had died after a long and largely hidden 18-month fight against cancer.
I'm a black star, way off my money, I've got game.
Only last week, his final album, Black Star, was released.
I want eagles in my daydreams, diamonds in my eyes. I'm a black star.
It is full of symbolism, suggesting he knew it was time to say goodbye.
Look up here, I'm in heaven.
Many lyrics posthumously poignant.
I've got scars that can't be seen.
It was David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, who led tributes, posting this picture of him as a toddler with his father, tweeting, "Very sorry and sad to say it's true. I'll be offline for a while." Bowie first lived here in post-war Brixton. Born David Jones, the area of southeast London remains very proud of its famous resident.
His legacy is kind of, yeah, it's everywhere. It's amazing. It's kind of it's insurmountable by anybody who's growing up and being an artist now, because things just aren't the same anymore. So it's just going to be unprecedented forever, which is awesome.
I think it's amazing. I mean, when this mural went up a few years ago, it just made me so proud to be a Brixtonian, but also to know that Bowie came from here.
I remember my youth, and it feels like part of that is gone in a way.
Bowie formed a number of bands as a teenager and changed his name, not wanting to be confused with Davy Jones from the Monkees. His first few singles had little success, but he remained determined.
Long before he was a star, David acted like a star. He did so much studying. He was self-taught. He didn't have like a university education. He wasn't a public school boy. More power to him, by the way, I think. And he basically created David Bowie, but he had quite a lot of help from other people.
And then this.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom.
His former landlady recalled an early performance of Space Oddity, his first hit to reach #1.
We were
in the kitchen the day that he arrived, the day he moved in. And he just sat on a stool while I was cooking and played it. And he played his stylophone. And then my kids came home from school and he played it again. And they thought it was absolutely wonderful, just the most fantastic song, and that it had to be a hit. And of course they were right.
Hunky Dory and its anthem Changes helped push Bowie's success. It was the soundtrack to many teenagers' lives.
The influence began on a significant level with Hunky Dory. That was 1971. That wasn't a huge hit. But all of a sudden, you had this guy who was referencing Nietzsche, he was referencing Yeats, Aleister Crowley, Buddhism, and at the same time writing songs that were very personal.
Bowie then pushed the surrealism and imagery even further, creating his alter ego, alien Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy play guitar, jamming good with weird.
In his pursuit of relentless reinvention, he changed what it meant to be a rock star. It brought him international acclaim. And then, at the very peak of Ziggy's fame, he killed him off, breaking the rules once again.
Now Ziggy play guitar.
The incarnations, though, continued, including Aladdin Sane. His next change of direction appealed to young Americans. He broke the United States. Looking gaunt, his drug-taking was affecting him physically, but not apparently stifling his creativity. His first US #1 was this collaboration with John Lennon in 1975. Bowie turned his attention to film. He played the lead character in the science fiction film The Man Who Fell to Earth. He'd later feature in the World War II drama Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. But perhaps his most critically acclaimed period came in the Berlin years, working with Brian Eno. He produced 3 successful albums.
He went away and he had the sense of adventure. He wasn't interested in repeating what had gone before and somehow improving on it, getting better sales. He wanted to go away, absorb influences, absorb cultures. He moved to Berlin. He disappeared completely off the scene. So he had that time and space to utterly just be open to the influences around him.
Musical success continued with Ashes to Ashes and its landmark video.
Ashes to ash and fun to fuck it. We know Major Tom's a junkie.
Throughout his life, Bowie's style was a huge influence on popular culture. An exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum was such a success, it's now touring the world. His interest in fashion, a big part of his career.
Even at school, he was dyeing his hair with vegetable dye, bright red and weird colours, and he was a bit of a mod. And early on, he was wearing dresses, which was outrageous at the time. Now we just think, oh, he's in a dress, so what? But it was very, very groundbreaking at the time.
But the furious creativity didn't stop in the 80s. He surprised once again, taking a more mainstream route. Hit after hit led to global success, including this Live Aid single with Mick Jagger. On the day itself, he stole the show with a duet with Freddie Mercury. Albeit massively successful, it was a flirtation with being a world pop star. And in the 90s, Bowie returned to experimenting, not always with success. But his relevance never waned as he tried everything from electronica to drum and bass. After headlining Glastonbury in 2000, Bowie went quiet. His enigmatic disappearance just another twist in his extraordinary life. There were rumours he'd never record again. But then, a decade on, without warning, promotion or interviews, his new single, Where Are We Now?, appeared to critical acclaim.
Where are we now? Where are we now? Weird.
Bowie famously turned down a knighthood. Not that he needed the recognition. 111 singles, 5 UK number ones, 2 Brit Awards, and 2 Grammys already give him a place in history.
Genius is an overused word, but I think musically, creatively, artistically, David Bowie was a genius. For someone of my age, he provided a lot of the soundtrack of our lives, from the first time I heard Space Oddity to watching our athletes appear in those wonderful Olympics to the strains of Heroes.
He leaves behind his model wife Iman and his son and daughter. He also leaves a remarkable legacy as a trailblazer of musical and artistic trends. A man who constantly delighted and entertained across different mediums and decades.
Ground control to Major Tom.